What's up, everybody? This is antdogslog 202108.27. Got the tank droid out today. I'm going to go ahead and put it together in front of the camera and see how it goes. I've never really put anything together on camera yet or anything like that, so this ought to be an interesting learning experience. Hopefully I can put the whole thing together, you know, in a rate that it'll be interesting, not too slow and boring, not too fast where you can't follow along, and we'll see how it goes. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. This is the base of the tank droid. Obviously all the parts are right here. This is the base to the tank droid, right? And here are the four suspension sides, and they basically go like this, right? And then the wheels, front. So there's, you know, the basic shape of it. But to put it together, what we need to do is get these two suspension pieces mounted right here on the sides with the forward chassis. So let's do that first. These guys have got a cool little slots in here. And then in the design, we would be bolting here. But I also added screws here because I also increased the size of this tank. If you guys aren't familiar with it, this is actually the original size. Okay, so to give you an idea how much bigger it is, this is the same part, this black one and this gold guy. And so I increased the size because I plan on putting large batteries, a lot of equipment, and I just generally wanted it to be bigger. So yeah, I mean, that's the deal there. Let's put it together. I just got these stainless, I believe they're number 8 screws. I made these really long because I'm putting a lot of battery power here. It's actually going to have 2 very large batteries for 24 volts, and so this tank in the end, it weighs a lot. So I'm really screwing it together heavily. Just come to the realization that I did not drill these holes yet. We don't need a drill press around here because we got the drill press arm and the laser eye. On a good day. What do you guys think of my antique dustpan? Found this at the thrift store. I really like it. It's kind of cool. Got a brass lid. Gotta keep your work spot clean, otherwise it gets in front of you. Alright, awesome sauce. Okay, now we got to go back and drill the holes in here. Actually reprinted this front support, and so that's why I actually don't have any holes drilled in it yet. All right. Okay, I'll spare you guys the putting in the rest of the screws for the video, but there it is. We ran these all the way down, and then of course I'm going to put the 5/16 in here when it's a little farther along. You'll see when that comes, but yeah, there that is. There's the main chassis of the tank. Later on I'll provide you links if you guys want to print or build one of these. You can definitely download it, and if you're really interested in this tank, because this is just a practice video for me, I would recommend go check out the creator's site. But yeah, it was just a really easy thing that I could do to kind of learn how to put these videos together and do the presentations. So yeah, see how it goes. Okay, so anyhow, the next thing we're going to do is we need to start assembling the wheels and to get those on there. And it's actually pretty easy. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got these 5/16 nuts that have already been pressed in. They were a little tight, so I went ahead and heated them up and melted them in there, and it actually holds really, really well. But yeah, there's these 5/16 nuts that are all down the inside. So when we take the wheel and screw it in, it's going to go right in there. So let's try that out. Just real quick to talk about the wheel. If you guys can see, this is the wheel printed 70% larger, and so it's in volume, so obviously it creates a much larger wheel. The bearings that were originally used by the creator of this tank were the standard skateboard 608 bearings. They were plenty strong enough for the size of this tank, especially because there's, you know, lots of wheels and lots of bearings holding the weight. So I stayed with the 608 bearing. I just made a bushing. I'll provide the file if you guys want to upscale yours this much, but this black bushing presses into the wheel, and then the original bearing can still be used, which is, you know, obviously lots of strength there. So also in the center, let me see if I can show you guys. I put in an aluminum spacer, and what the spacer is for, so when we tighten all of the bolts down to tighten the wheels into place, we don't want to squeeze the bearings. You know, these aren't designed to be thrust bearings. You know, they're, you know, once you squeeze these, they're actually going to bind up, and that's not what you want. So what this does, when you put the bearing on there, and you put the sleeve in there, instead of pressing against the outside of the bearing and locking it up, it presses against the inner hub of the bearing, and then no matter how much you tighten it, the bearing will still spin very nice. And it just transfers the pressure through the shaft, and it doesn't apply the pressure to the bearing itself. So basically the way this works, these four wheels here are called bogies, and this is the bogie, and there's four of them on each side. Then there's the drive wheel. This is the wheel that has, you know, the gearing or the belt or whatever you're going to use. This isn't the final version for me. I actually have a different, less rough draft. I made the sprockets smaller and put a larger belt on. This is just what I had on hand when I did this little rough draft. And it actually works surprisingly well, but definitely going to need a stronger belt for this setup. But the drive wheel goes on top right here. Just so you guys know, the wheel that goes in the front actually bolts on these sliders. And it's a narrower wheel called the tensioner, and effectively what it does is when it slides up and back right here on this adjustment, it creates the belt tension for the track, and so you can get your track how you want. I'll be putting that together in a minute and you'll see that a little better. Gotta look down in the center of these so I can see my spacers and my washers and everybody. Oh, almost forgot the washer. And then the one I took apart, it's got the bearing on this side already, so we're good there. And then I put an inner washer so the bearing sits really nice against the spacer. And spacer. Other inner washer. Bearing. Alright, and then there's all 5 that have to go on ahead of time. Put some washers in here to make a nice seat against the plastic. You don't want to put the belt on, otherwise you won't be getting it on afterwards. Aha! Okay, it takes a little bit of magic to get that up. Yeah, got everyone in there, I believe. Alright, same thing to the other side. I'll spare you it on the video, but I'm going to put it together really quick just the same. And the drive wheel. And the last one. Okay. Now for the magic trick. Getting it up there without any of these washers or bolts sliding out. See how it goes. Okay, starting to look like a tank. Just gonna hand tighten all of these. We'll go through them and tighten them all nice when it's together. Yeah, check it out. So now we got all 8 of the main wheels on, 4 bogies. Drive wheels up here up top. Okay, now we got to put our tensioners on. First thing we'll do is I left one of the tension adjusters off so I can put it together for you guys. Same thing here, just want to show you real quick, is the the nuts are just pressed in to the plastic. I used one sacrificial nut and I warmed it up with a torch and made the perfect little slots. They were already really close, the developer of the part, but I increased everything in size, so some things were a little off, and so some adjustments need to be made, and in this case I just used heat and sunk those right in there. Alright, so now we got all 4 are on there. Let's see here, I'll show you guys. Okay, just like that. There it is. Now let's go ahead and put the tensioner wheels on. These are the narrower ones that obviously will fit in that narrower slot. The inside washer is a pain in the butt. These are Allens because they're countersunk in there. There's one. Okay, and for the second one, tensioner. And two. All right, all 12 wheels, there they are. So check it out now. Our next step is to put the track on. Let me show you the track. I printed this one first because I thought it looked the coolest. But the problem I'm having with it, and I think it's because I expanded the size, is it has a little too much side-to-side play. It actually does work. There's a little bit of binding once in a while when the tank is turning. So that is the only problem with this one, but I did like the way it looked. I just thought it was really cool, so I printed it. But the second version has a different track, and it's not a 45-degree angle here. It's actually straight, and they fit together really tight. So you see how there's a gap there. So the next version won't have that gap. But yeah, this one actually, it works okay for testing and how this one's moving around. This whole tank, it moves really, really slow because it's you know, dialing in the software and how it's going to work, and its obstacle avoidance and detection and stuff. So as slow as this one moves, it's a rough draft. We're okay here with this track. But yeah, all it is we got these number 5 stainless Allens with a nylon locker there on the end, and each one is bolted together that way. I had to do the head on one side and the nut on the other, and then keep rotating. I actually originally put it all together with all of the heads on one side and all of the nuts on the other. And then when you lifted the thing up, it would turn into a big old moon shape. And I'm assuming that's because the threads are slightly less diameter where the bolt has been threaded. And so having it sit up against there meant it would slack down just a tiny bit on each one. But by the time you added all that up, it literally would go like that and stay like that. So that was a problem. So I took it back apart and made each one different, and it seems to have solved that issue. All right. One track. All right. So you see? Pretty cool, pretty cool. Let's put on the other one. Don't want to forget to have the Allen pin ready this time. Wrong way. Okay, and there it is. There's the basic construction of the tank body itself. From here, I'll slide the tensioner out and we'll adjust the tension of the tank track how we want. But yeah, there it is. Pretty cool. You know, to give you an idea again on how much the size got increased. Here's that front suspension piece of the standard size. And then here's how big this one is. So I went up a lot. But when you see how much battery power and equipment and what's not, cameras and camera arms and motor drivers and the robot that stands on top of it, it requires all the space. So I wanted to go nice and big and have a nice stable base. That's effectively why I picked this tank. It was an easy print and it seemed pretty basic and reliable. So yeah, there it is.